Hey everyone, it's Fox from ModelMaking.Guru here with a quick tutorial on how to do water slide decals. Quite a few people have asked me how you do these. Quite a few people who build Gunpla. You'll know I make a lot of different models, including Gunpla. I've recently discovered the joys. And a lot of Gunpla kits come with stickers and dry rub transfers. Occasionally you'll get one with proper water slide decals, or you'll have ordered Bandai's water slide decals for that kit, or you'll have got a third-party set. Or you'll be making a different model completely and never done water slides. So anyway, people have asked me how you do them. They seem to think it's something very scary and terrifying and you're going to mess it up. And stickers are easier, and they'll stick with stickers, and I try and get people away from that if I can. So I'm going to show you today how to do water slide decals. Dead easy. Much better than stickers and transfers, trust me. They look painted on rather than stuck on stickers. You will need some really simple equipment. You'll need your hobby knife, a pair of fine tweezers, a cocking tail stick, a cotton bud or Q-tip to our American cousins, possibly some very fine scissors, nail scissors, or these are Tamiya decal scissors. You might not need these, but if you've got them. You will also need a brush. Doesn't have to be a good brush, just a small brush, and a piece of kitchen roll, tissue paper. Now I'm also going to be using two other things today that you don't necessarily need, but you might find makes life easier if you're putting decals on an uneven surface. I'm going to be using Microscales, Microset and Microsol, and I'll explain about these. If you don't have these, don't worry, just do exactly the same procedure but without using these, because these are water slide, water will be fine. These just soften the decals and help them sort of form to the surface better. So today we're going to add a decal to the Wing Gundam wing. Now if you've watched my commission build diary videos, you'll know I've bought the Master Grade Endless Waltz Wing Gundam, and I've also then rather cleverly bought the decals for the version Ka Wing Gundam that's not the same Wing Gundam, because there are a million different Wing Gundams available from Bandai, and it took me an hour to remember which one I bought. So via rather some funkiness, I'm actually applying these onto this kit in the style of this kit, so it'll look different to this kit. Basically the stickers that come with this don't look anything like these, and they're all different, so it doesn't really matter anyway. It's all very confusing. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this little puppy here, the registry number, and we're going to be sticking it here on the wing. That one there. Dead simple. You will need, if you're going to use Microsol and Microset, you'll need these first. Microset, it's kind of really weird because the names don't make any sense. Microset will soften the decal in advance of it going down. Microsol will then help it form down to the surface. Now you can use one without the other, and it's really confusing as to which does what, and even if you read their own website it doesn't really make any sense, but this is the way I found best to do it. So you start off with Microset. Handy tip, put it on a thing where you're not going to knock it over. So it might not be in shot, but you'll see what I mean. Okay. Oh, one other thing you need is a small container with some lukewarm, not hot, lukewarm water. Just clean water. Now what we're going to do is first of all take our decal, and just as a point of interest, it's really nitpicky, but people that call stickers and dry rub transfers decals, they're not. They're stickers and dry rub transfers. Things you stick on are stickers. The ones where you put it down and rub it on, that's a dry rub transfer. These are decals. And I suppose you can call, some people call them decals. I prefer decals. That's a different rant altogether. So yeah, if I'm talking about stickers, I mean stickers. If I'm talking about decals, I mean water slide decals. So the first thing we're going to do is cut our decal out. Now you can do this with the scissors, but I prefer to do it with a knife just because it's more delicate. So I'm just going to very carefully, make sure you can see it first of all, very carefully cut this out. Cutting it out this way with a knife also means you can avoid turning your sheet of decals into like 15 million different pieces. You can just cut out the ones you need and go from there. But you can do this with scissors if you need to. Oops, look at that so you can see it. Now this is going to be interesting for me because I can't get close to it to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to be kind of flying blind a little bit. So let me just check my focus as always. So we're going to put this decal here. What do we do? First thing we do is we take our brush. We're going to take a little bit of Microset, not a lot, I'm not going to load the brush too much, just a little bit. And I'm just going to put some where I want the decal to go. Just a small amount, you don't have to soak it with a big bubble, just so it's damp. Next, we'll take our decal, and now this will be off camera again, I'm afraid, because I can't fit everything in. Oh, maybe I can. You see that? You can see that. Take my decal. I'm going to place it in the water just for a few seconds. Now, because this is warm, it'll only take a few seconds to actually start doing its due. This is going to separate it from the backing paper. As the water gets colder, it might take a little bit longer for the decal to be ready, but that's not the end of the world. You don't have to keep changing the water all the time. Now, you can, if you want to, if you're really careful, just try nudging the decal to see if it'll move. But with long decals like this, I recommend caution. So give it a few seconds. Let's get this out and see if we can see what it's doing. Apologies if my head keeps coming in shot. I'm going to get my tweezers, see if it's moving. Just very gently. No, it's not moving yet, so it needs longer to soak. It can take different amounts of time depending on how warm your water is and the make of the decals. These ones typically, if the water's reasonably warm, it might take 5 or 10 seconds. Revell decals can take between 10 to 15, maybe even 30 seconds. Fine moulds ones can vary and take a long time or just a few seconds. It varies kit by kit and how old the decals are. If you buy an old Revell kit that's been on a shelf for 20 years, it's probably going to take longer because the decal will be an older solution. So let's just see. Right, that's moving now. I don't know if you can see that. It might not be on screen. I've just tried nudging it very gently. You've got to be careful not to actually rip the decal when you're trying to nudge it. So if you're not sure, just don't go near it. Just leave it for 20-30 seconds. So move the water out of the way. So you can see now, hopefully, if I can grab my cocktail stick, you can see now down here, our decal is moving freely on the backing paper. So I'll show you how easy this whole process is. Take your piece. Take your decal and very gently, what I'm doing is I'm gently holding it in place with the cocktail stick and I'm pulling the blue backing paper out from underneath it. I'm not pushing down or dragging anything on the decal. So our decal is on. Where are you? There we are. Decal is on. I'm just going to start gently pushing it with the tweezers. I'm pushing the edge of the decal. You probably can't see that. There's my little marker. There's my little marker for the centre of the screen. Let's see if it's lined up. Get it just about where you want it. And I'm not going to put any pressure on. I'm just going to gently roll this across just to take off any excess moisture. Maybe a little bit more. Make sure I think it's lined up. Check it with my eyes, in my face. Okay, so I'm going to get my tissue. Just very gently pat it on. Get rid of all the extra moisture. Now it may move slightly when you do that, so don't panic. It's still gently movable. If you nudge it from underneath, you can use the cocktail stick because it's a bit more gentle. I can still just about move it. I'm just gently prodding it and dragging it just to get it moving. And that seems to be in about the right place. So I'll get my cotton bud again. And I'm going to press down on it now, not too hard, but I'm going to press down with a bit more force just to squidge out any excess water without trying to move it, because it's going to be harder to move once this is squidged down. Just removing any excess water from underneath. Now when you're putting the decal on, you can actually rest it on the tissue paper for a second just to wick off any extra moisture before you place the decal on. That's also an option. It needs a little bit of adjustment, so it might move, might still move. Just be very careful. Try it with the cotton bud. If it's not moving, get another brush, not the one you put the microsol on, microset even. Just dip it in some water. I've got a separate tin of just water here. Put a little bit of water over the top, and that should unlock the decal a little bit. You've got a few minutes to work with it. Unlock the decal just a touch, enough to just gently adjust it. And our decal is now on. Now, that's not the end of the story. I'm going to leave that for 2 minutes. Is that straight? Yeah, that's straight. Apologies if my head keeps coming shot, by the way, because of all the reasons. Going to leave that for 2 minutes just to do its thing. So let's wait for 2 minutes, and when we come back, I'll show you the next step. So, back in a moment. Okay, right. This is at a couple of minutes now. It's looking pretty spanky. So the next step is to get your micro set again, the blue one. A little bit on your brush, again, just take most of it off, you don't want a lot. And just quickly brush over it again. Just softens it a little bit more. Micro set just helps it soften and adhere to the surface. I forgot to mention as well, I've actually applied a gloss varnish to this model first. If you apply a gloss varnish, it helps the decal set to the surface better, and it also makes it easier to move it around. If you do a matte varnish first, it'll still work, but you may find the decal is harder to move around a little bit, and also it may be a little bit, because a matte surface is slightly more lumpy, so it may be a little bit more lumpy. If you want a nice smooth painted on look, apply a gloss varnish first. In this case I've applied Pledge Multi-Surface Wax, but you can use any modelling gloss varnish or Pledge Multi-Surface Wax, which is also known as Clear or Future. So next trick is to, now we've applied it on there again, leave it for a few minutes, basically until it looks dry. Now when you do this, I don't know if you can see on camera, it starts to go a bit lumpy and bobbly. See if you can zoom in a bit and show you. I don't know if this will focus. You may see in the light it looks a bit bobbly. Don't worry. What this is doing is it's stretching the decal. It's softening it and stretching it slightly. It's not doing it much here because it's a nice flat decal. But it's basically stretching it and softening it a little bit. So it may go all wrinkly and crinkly, especially if it's a big, say, round decal or something, if you're doing a roundel on an Air Force plane. Don't panic, this is normal. Just don't be tempted to fiddle with it. Just leave it. It will squidge back into shape and settle down. And if you've got any panel lines it's going over, it should start to settle into those. So leave that until it looks dry, and then we'll come back with the last stage. So, back in a moment. Right, okie dokie, on to our last stage. This is at about 10 minutes to dry now. So it looks nice and dry. Last stage, we're just going to take out the micro set and replace it with micro sol. You don't have to do this. If the decal looks fine to you, you can actually skip this stage, but I do it out of a sense of habit. If your decal is on a uneven surface, so if it goes across a panel line, if it's on like a ribbed surface, anything where there's unevenness or there's like rivets underneath, then you should do this set, because this just makes it soften and adhere to that surface even more. So dead simple. Red one, micro sol. Take your brush. Where's my brush? There's my brush. Just rinse it off from the last time you used it when it had micro set on it. And exactly the same as the micro sol, get a little bit on the brush, get most of it off, and just brush over it, just to make it damp. Now, like last time, you may see it go all crinkly and wrinkly. Again, don't be tempted to futz with it, just leave it. It's doing its job. If it goes all wrinkly and crinkly, it's expanding it, and then it will shrink back down and start to grip any uneven shapes and surfaces. And that is water slide decals. The only other one thing you might want to do, if again you've got, say, a panel line or something like that, you can repeat the microsol set a few times. When it dries out, if it's still got a few bits where it's, say, covering up a panel line, or it's got a rivet and you've got this tent where the rivet is underneath, just give it another go if you want to. If you've done a couple of coats and it's still not showing some details underneath, you can just gently press it with your tissue or a soft towel. That may help it go around an uneven surface even more. Or if, say, for example, this was on a ribbed surface like a grill, or say around the fairing around the nose cone of a Y-wing engine, which I speak from experience, the Fine Mods decals do, you can, if you want to, just run a cocktail stick down a groove or panel line, not like this, but just that way, very gently, just to push the decal in after you've applied that, and then leave it to dry. But you can repeat the microsol stage 2 or 3 times if you need to. It should eventually go down. Luckily for me, this is a flat surface with a flat decal, and I've used a gloss varnish, so it should be relatively flat. It's looking a little bit crinkly, but that will go away as it dries out. And that, my friends, is water slide decals. really simple. The advantages over stickers, I'm sure, are fairly obvious. A sticker has a big edge around it because you're basically sticking a piece of plastic with some text on it to the surface. Now, when you say matte varnish your model, this is especially for Gunpla, when you matte varnish it, it will hide how shiny it is, but you will still see an edge if you put the light in the right direction. So, I mean, stickers are fine, but I rather would use water slide decals because they just look like they're painted on. When you matte varnish it, there is a little bit of shininess from the film, but when you matte varnish it, that will disappear. There won't be an edge. When you're using stickers, if you're doing any kind of oil paint gunk washes, you have to do the stickers afterwards, because if you put the sticker on and then do a gunk wash, you'll just get oil paint all around the edge of the sticker, which looks terrible. Which also means then, if you're doing any weathering, your stickers will be on top of the weathering. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm putting this decal on before I do the weathering, so that when I add any gunk washes or weathering, it will weather over this as well, because this is supposed to be painted onto the wing. So obviously, if there's dirt and schmutz on the wing, it's going to cover up the text as well as the paint on the wing. Logical. So always do, if you're doing water slide decals, do it before you're weathering. If you're doing stickers, do it after you're weathering. You can also chip these. So if I had a big patch of paint chipping here, like I've got here, this is just chipped off with a knife blade. You can see primer underneath. I'd put the decal on. Once I've done this micro sol set, I'd leave it for maybe an hour or two, and then I would very carefully with a knife or a pin just chip where the decal needs to be chipped. If it's right on top of a big paint chip, you can chip the decal away, but it needs to be dry and set first, and it should then chip the decal as well. If you've got a paint chip here, you're not going to have the paint of this logo intact above a paint chip. It wouldn't make any sense. Advantages over dry rub transfers and stickers. Stickers, once they're on, you're knackered. Dry rub transfers, which if you've built a Bandai Gunpla before, you know they're basically the ones where you place it on the surface and you rub it and it just adheres. Now, they look seamless like water slides. Again, it'll look as seamless as this. But once they're on, you can't move them. You have to get it in the right place. You rub it and peel the backing off and it's there. Sometimes not all of the transfer comes across, so you get little gaps. And if you've got it slightly off kilter, if it's supposed to be straight and it's slightly off, well, you're just screwed. You can't do anything about it. Water slides, you can put them on, you can move them around for a few minutes, you can get it right, you can drag them around. If you leave it and it dries for a bit and you're not happy, you can put water on it, it should release it again, and you can move it around again. As I said before, you don't have to use Microsol and Microset. You can just do this with water. So get your decal wet, put it on the surface, tamp it down with your tissue or your cotton bud to get all the air bubbles out and get all the water out, and then leave it to dry. If you've got any grooves or ribbed areas, just gently try and push it in with the cocktail stick. It probably won't look as painted on because it's not had any softener on it, but it should look great. You should still be fine. If you're familiar with Gunpla, you'll know there are also other products as well as Microsol and Microset out there that do the same thing. There are specific Japanese products, Mr. Mark. I think it's Mr. Mark Softener. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It does a similar thing basically, but I prefer Microsol and Microset. That's it. That's water slide decals. Dead easy, dead simple. You can fix any mistakes, and it looks far superior to stickers and dry rubs. Well, looks far superior to stickers anyway. Much easier than dry rubs. I hope that's given you a helpful hint. Follow that technique and you'll be absolutely fine. Gets a bit tricky with tiny decals. Big decals can be challenging, especially if they're going over different shapes and surfaces, but you'll get the hang of it. Practice on some cheapy, crappy kits. When you finish doing your model, especially if it's a Gunpla, you'll have loads of these left over. These are version car decals. Keep them to one side. I've got a big bag full of decals from all kinds of kits, and they come in handy for loads of different things. All these little caution markers are great for any kind of model, be it a Gundam, be it a fighter plane, be it a tank, be it a submarine, doesn't matter. There's no real wording on these, they're just little shapes and patterns, so you can use those anywhere on any model you want. So keep all your unused decals to one side, you never know when you might find them handy. And I've waffled a lot now, I've just realised, for the last 5 minutes, so that's it, that's water slide decals. I will do one on gunk washing soon, so stay tuned for that. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Visit modelmaking.guru and come back for the next video. Adios amoebas!